Sportsworld is in the shadow of Mount Baldy, just to the east of Los Angeles in Southern California. Hi, I'm Paul Page. You know, drag racing began here in Southern California, so it's appropriate that Sportsworld is here for the NHRA World Drag Race Finals. Now, when they first began drag racing, they used to flag the cars off the line with a flag, but now in this precise sport where the seconds are measured to 3 decimal points, it's the Christmas tree that the drivers use to start the race. Steve Evans is a former drag racer, now turned sportscaster, and Steve, this tree and the way they read it is going to make a big difference.
Oh, you bet it will, Paul. Performance is important, but without good driving, sharp reactions off the starting line, all the horsepower in the world won't buy you a drag race victory. As the drivers say, the quick ones can hole shot their way into the winner's circle here this weekend.
The top fuel dragster will go down the quarter mile in less than 6 seconds, approaching 250 miles an hour. There are 4 names tied for the World Championship. It will be decided here today. Jeb Allen, Gary Beck, Marvin Graham, and Shirley Muldowney.
This is the tightest contest we've ever had for a Top Fuel World Championship in the history of drag racing, really. Gary Beck has led the point since early in the season. Gary, what is your battle plan to try to hang on to a narrow points lead and win this World Championship?
Well, Steve, certainly, as we all know, it's very tight. 4 cars right at the top, a bare 83-point lead. We're nervous. Our car has run good in the early part of the year. We're trying to get it back on that groove. We know we can beat the cars. We've battled with them about a 50% average all year. So it's time to pick it back up and get a little more going for us.
Well, Steve, if I look serious, it's because I am. I'm 26 years old, and to be fighting against people like Gary Beck and Shirley Muldowney and Marvin Graham, that's all 12, 15 years older than me, it's something that I always used to dream of when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And to be here today, I'm very grateful, and I'm just going to try my hardest.
Of the 3 drivers still contesting the title, who do you consider to be the toughest?
I think Jeb Allen. Jeb tends to step up not once in a while, a lot of times, but when, you know, the going gets rough, Jeb always seems to be there. And plus, I like him a whole lot.
Now, just mathematically, what has to happen for you to win this overall title?
I think that we haven't really figured it out on paper, but I think that we have to win the race, and at least Gary and Shirley or Gary and Jeb have to go out pretty early.
Here is a close-up look at Marvin Graham's car. Steve, the top fuel dragster is an incredible machine.
It sure is, and it's drag racing's only unlimited class. A 2,000 horsepower supercharged nitromethane burning engine just behind the driver's head. They're about 1,400 pounds, 22 feet long. The control is very simple. A throttle pedal, a clutch pedal, a handbrake, and a butterfly steering wheel and oil pressure gauge. That's all they need in top fuel. But they did about $200,000 to campaign one of these cars competitively.
They are designed not only for speed, but for safety. Watch the car in the near side lane.
Dave Uehara, Santa Clara, California, smacks the wall, one of the worst top fuel crashes I have ever seen. You see the rear end of the car bouncing down the drag strip. It literally explodes, but that's okay. What's important is that the roll cage section where Uehara is strapped in is intact, and he is going to be A-OK, Paul.
The safety crew is already on top of the car, and Steve, when the parts fly off of the car, that keeps energy from being transferred to the driver.
That's right. You might as well just get rid of any excess metal. You don't need it, and especially you don't need those big balloon tires because they can cause the car to bounce violently down the racetrack. Here it hits the wall, the rear end breaks away, and then the car just slides down the concrete wall with a very shaken Dave Uehara saying, "What happened?"
A flash of fire, but he is protected by his fire suit. The crews are there. He is all right. Now here is Jeb Allen. Shirley Muldowney says she is her toughest competitor. He is on the line. He has to run better than a 6:04. Allen leaves the line clean.
The other car smoking the tires. He will not qualify.
Allen across the line, 6.056. It's not fast enough. And already Jeb Allen is out of the show.
We know the speed indicates, Paul, that he had the horsepower at the far end of the racetrack. But the launch is everything in drag racing. The car did not leave the starting line hard enough.
Well, you know, we tried. You know, I don't know what to say. I feel like crying, I guess. A long, hard year, and it's over, I guess, right now, and that's life.
A disappointed Jeb Allen already out of the event, but still, it's a 3-way battle for the World Championship. Championship drag racing is exciting. It can also be frightening. This is young Tim Gross at the Spring Nationals in Columbus, Ohio, when he slammed his funny car in the fence and flipped end over end. But he was able to fight his restraint system and finally climb out of that car. And Tim Gross returned to drag race again. He's here today. Sportsworld is in Ontario, California for the NHRA World Drag Racing Finals. Hi, I'm Paul Page, and we are here today for two exciting battles, funny car and pro stock. To work with us today is Steve Evans, former drag racer, now turned sportscaster. Steve, this pro stock battle is really something.
Oh, it is, and the fans are into it. It's between four-time world champion Bob Glidden and Texan Lee Shepard with a Chevrolet. For the first time, Glidden does not have the title locked up. In fact, he is trailing Shepard in the points. What about driving, Bob? You've met Shepard a lot this year, and he's beat you on several occasions with slower elapsed times. Have you been working on your driving at all?
Well, it's not really a case of working on your driving. You do what's automatic when the fourth stage light goes on, and he's had a hex on me all year. I've done the wrong things all year long, so I don't know what the answer is.
In talking with Bob Glidden, he acts like he's already been defeated. He's really down.
Well, he's had a little trouble so far, but he usually gets things ironed out by race time.
A man that's had trouble with his funny car is Tim Gross, who is now making a last-minute effort to qualify. But earlier, he talked with Steve Evans about his accident at the Spring Nationals.
Tim Gross gets a very scary reminder each and every time he goes in and out of his trailer of a day not long ago in Columbus, Ohio, upside down and on fire. Tim, how much of that crash do you remember?
Well, I would say probably 95% of it. There was maybe a brief moment where I actually did close my eyes because I didn't want to see what was going to happen. But actually every bit of it, I remember every toss and turn on the guardrail and the fire, of course. And
do you toss and turn at night remembering this?
No, I've never really had a problem with that. In fact, the first moment I stepped back in the car, I didn't even give it a second thought. It was just something that was in the past. The car almost had a tendency to want to do what it was going to do at that point, and I'm glad it's over with. And this new car is, like I was saying, it's encouraging because it runs very straight, easy, and so
This is the way it was in the qualifying as Tim Gross in the far lane tried to make it into the qualifying field. But almost right away, too much power, the back end shook loose. Gross had to shut it down. It was not to be his day at Ontario Motor Speedway. And so we're now ready for the first round of funny car eliminations. Dale Armstrong will face Ron Coulson.
Californian Armstrong will be the first here to complete his tire heating burnout. They'll back up to the starting line to get ready to race.
There's an official running out on the track. Is something wrong?
Oh, this looks like a bad break for Armstrong. The official may be shutting that car off, but what a piece of good luck for Ron Coulson if indeed that's the case.
Ron Coulson, unaware of any possible problem on Armstrong's car, brings his machine back to the line and prepares to stage it. But they're still looking at Armstrong's car. There's the top about to go up. Ron Coulson makes his first burnout, pulls up to the line. He's off and away. It'll be a win for Coulson and a lot of bad luck for Dale Armstrong.
Oh, you bet. A lot of fans with that California-based car. Apparently an oil leak, Paul. In fact, you can see where oil is even sprayed up on the body and the windshield. And it's all over the racetrack as well. A big problem for this man, John Collins, who is next up in this right-hand lane.
The right lane has been a problem all afternoon, and now with this additional oil on it, it's going to make it that much more of a problem. John Collins now preparing himself, putting on the fire protective gear in anticipation of a run down his strip. Steve Evans, let's look at the funny car.
This is a funny car, Paul, an inappropriate name really for 1,700 pounds of plainly serious race machine. A 2,000 horsepower supercharged nitro-burning engine in front of the driver, making onboard fire extinguishers a must, all topped off with a fiberglass body.
Two on the line and ready to go in the near lane. John Collins from Long Beach, California. Tom Hoover from Minnesota over on the far side. Final preparations and checks being made. You can see the thick black marks created by the tires when they did their burnouts a bit earlier.
That's right. The burnouts are absolutely critical for these cars, and especially in the case of Collins, as he was able to help clean up the track himself with very aggressive burnouts.
Let's see if that right lane holds. They're coming up the stage. The light gives them green, and they're off. Tom Hoover pulls away very rapidly. Hoover goes on to win. The right lane proved to be bad luck for John Collins.
Hoover from Minneapolis posts a really fine 6.17-second win at over 221 miles per hour.
And that completes round number 1 of Funny Car Eliminations. Sportsworld is at Ontario Motor Speedway in Southern California for the World Drag Race Finals. We're in round number 1 of Top Fuel. In the near side, Shirley Muldowney, the far side, Marvin Graham. Steve asked them about their strategies.
Well, I think our car's got more power. I know our car's got more power than any other car around here, and obviously more power than her car. So we hope to get it stuck to the ground and be ahead at the end of the racetrack. That's the main point.
I don't think Marvin really is as good a lever. And, you know, the car runs awfully good, so a good car can make a marginal driver look awfully good. I think I have him there.
So Shirley Muldowney, here in the first round of Top Fuel, has a chance to eliminate one of her competitors for the world title.
Marvin Graham says he'll out-muscle Shirley. Shirley says, no, he won't. I'll out-drive him.
Both cars on the line now. Shirley in the near lane, Marvin Graham in the far lane. Both cars away cleanly, some smoke off of Graham's tires. Now Shirley coming on strong, pulls Graham to the line, and Shirley Muldowney has beat Marvin Graham in round number 1.
And only by 2/100ths of a second. 6.07 for Shirley, 2:37. 6.09, 2:34 for Marvin Graham. And here in the replay, Paul, I think we can see where that 2/100ths of a second evaporated. You see the tire smoke? That's where the time went. He had too much horsepower.
So Marvin Graham is out, and Shirley Muldowney will now move up to the quarterfinal round. And that brings up Connie Kalita, who is Shirley Muldowney's former chief mechanic, and he will face the '78 world champion Kelly Brown.
Brown, with his tire heating burnout, he's really only in this race as a spoiler in the number 2 Gary Beck car. Look at the tires grow a full foot as he not only heats them up, but lays down some hot, sticky rubber on the pavement to improve traction.
And Kelly Brown is on the line and ready. The '78 world champion in the near lane facing Connie Kalita. They are both staged and ready. The green light, and they're off. Kalita smokes his tires coming off the line. Brown charging hard, but it's Kalita across the line. A fire on Brown's car. The supercharger blows off the top of Brown's machine.
And that was it we saw bouncing down the racetrack. This is 200 pounds of supercharger and fuel injection. Blows right off the top of the motor. The flames trying to burn the parachute off of Brown's car, but don't quite succeed.
Well, there is Kelly Brown, dejected, looking at the damage on the top of the engine on his Top Fuel dragster. On the line now, Gary Beck. He will face Dennis Baca.
Baca's a past winner here at Ontario, a tough customer from Northern California.
Gary Beck, on the other hand, is still in this World Championship. He has to keep pace with Shirley Muldowney. He has more runs in the 5-second bracket than any other Top Fuel driver. So Beck and Baca, both of their machines on the line. The crew is looking at Baca's machine, though. They're pushing it back. There's something wrong with Baca's machine. So Gary Beck leaves. He'll make a slow pass.
This could come back to haunt Gary Beck. The car not performing properly, so he shuts it off early. A slow elapsed time means he'll not have lane choice the next round.
So Dennis Baca pushed to the side. Gary Beck will win here in this round. And he and Shirley Muldowney will now fight it out for the World Championship. Here the quarterfinal round. Muldowney brings her machine to the line to face Connie Kalita, her former chief mechanic. Steve Evans talked with both of them.
I notice you're putting some weight on your car.
Yeah, the racetrack conditions out there are terrible, and I smoked the tires real hard in the first round, and in doing so, I lost lane choice to her, so that's definitely going to give her an advantage in the lanes out there. The right lane is definitely slicker than the left.
And the last thing you want to see is that pink car in front of you.
Oh, that's terrible. I've seen it there a couple times, and it really hurts.
Shirley, you said you're a good lever, and you've proven that, certainly. How have you polished that talent? How have you honed that talent?
Pay attention. Not be looking around, watching the other car. And it's reaction, and I think women do have really good reflexes, and it's just something that you get used to.
So Shirley's weapon will be concentration. She is in the far lane. Kalita in the near lane. A yellow light and then a green. And they're away. Kalita lights the tires. And Muldowney now simply driving away from Kalita. She's now one step closer to a world championship.
She just drills Connie with a 5.91 second elapsed time, 237 miles an hour. Kalita shows us here just how critical lane choices become. The starting line's pretty good, but out 100 feet, the track won't take the power.
So Shirley Muldowney is that much closer. She's now down at the far end with Steve Evans.
Oh, Connie Kalita coming over to congratulate Shirley Muldowney. These two get a lot of heat about their rivalry, but I think what it all comes down to is just good, hard drag racing. Shirley Muldowney has got to be tickled. Now, Shirley, you've had the reflexes all day. Now you've got the performance, a 591.
Was it really? Oh, well, stand back.
Okay.
Thanks, Connie.
Okay.
And let me tell you something else. On the line right now is Gary Beck. Okay? Now, if Beck should lose, you only need one more win light to take the World Championship, the way I have it
I need
figured.
to have a win light, really. I think it'd be 72 points.
So there is the challenge, Gary Beck. He's on the line against Gary Cornwall.
Cornwall's a hard racer from Reno, Nevada, with a big ace in the hole called lane choice. Connie Kalita showed us just how important that is.
Both cars up and staged and away, and Beck lights the tires right off the line. The right lane fails for Beck and gives the victory to Cornwall.
Beck never gave up, but he couldn't match Gary Cornwall's 5.96 elapsed time.
So Shirley Muldowney is now only 1/2 a win light away from the World Championship.
And Cornwall controls the destiny of both Beck and Muldowney.
Muldowney and her crew will go back and prepare their machine to do battle with Gary Cornwall. Welcome back. I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans, and we've joined over 50,000 race fans at Ontario Motor Speedway in Southern California to see the Pro Stockers run. A Pro Stock machine is very sophisticated. Here's Brad Ewells.
This is typical, really, of the factory hot rods. They must retain the stock dimension of the original street machine. They're limited to carburetors and pump gasoline. Roll cages are mandatory inside these cars. The drivers are very, very busy in these cockpits with a maze of levers controlling a clutchless 4-speed transmission.
And Brad Ewell now has his car up on the line as he is ready to face the Pro Stock World Champion Bob Glidden. Glidden defending his title here at Ontario Motor Speedway.
Even if Indiana's Bob Glidden should lose that #1 to Lee Shepard, he still wants the event first. He'll have to beat Brad Ewell here to get started.
Ewell and Glidden come evenly off the line. Now Glidden begins to build up speed and power. And it's Glidden going away as he beats Brad Ewell in round #1 of the Pro Stock eliminations. Now for the World Championship, the man that Glidden wants to beat is this fellow, Lee Shepard. Shepard is in the quarterfinal round as he faces Andy Manarino in the near lane.
Shepard won't be taking Manarino lightly here. The Michigan driver, one of the top qualifiers in the M&M boys car, is the inch forward to stage.
Both cars on the line now, ready for a run. And Shepard stumbles forward and then stops completely, stumbles again. Manarino will go on to win this round, and that changes the whole complexion of things because Shepard was Bob Glidden's only challenge to this point for the World Championship.
And with absolutely no mechanical problems all year long, whoever would have believed Shepard would break here in the most important race of the year?
I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans, and we're at Ontario Motor Speedway in Southern California for the World Drag Race Finals. On the line, Frank Bradley will face Jerry Ruth in the semifinal round.
Paul, neither Bradley nor Ruth are involved in the season-long World Championship chase, but there's still $20,000 awaiting the winner here today in the category. Jerry Ruth is so weight conscious about this machine, he won't even paint it. He says the paint weighs 20 pounds, and that's just going to slow him down.
So Jerry Ruth backing his machine up and putting it in place. Frank Bradley in the far lane, Ruth in the near lane. They are both up in stage. The green light and they're away. Ruth's tires go up in smoke. Bradley does the same, but Bradley drives on to win it.
And he wins it with a fine 6.02, 240 miles an hour, and finds himself a place in the final round later on.
So Frank Bradley wins his half of the semifinal round, and Shirley Muldowney is now waiting to face Gary Cornwall, who says he knows what to expect.
Well, I mean, she's tough. We raced her 2 weeks ago, and we were fortunate enough to beat her, so it can be done.
What do you think about going to the starting line against a very sharp driver like Shirley?
Well, I don't really pay attention to who I'm racing. You know, you really race a light up there, and that's what you pay attention to. So if you leave on the light, why, you got as good a chance as the other guy.
Muldowney's crew has been working hard on their car, but they've also had a little time to spy on Gary Cornwall.
Well, someone told me you didn't take the heads off, and even if you don't hurt it, at a national event, you take the heads off if you're smart. So I hope that'll bite him. I hope the right lane will get to him, and I think I'm going to leave on him. So I don't know. It's like you said, it really is the most important race in my career.
So it's the semi-final round. In the far lane, Shirley Muldowney. The near lane, Gary Cornwall. 2,000 horsepower from Cornwall's top fueler screams out its challenge to Shirley Muldowney, and she responds in kind.
As Shirley and Cornwall back up to the line at the far end of the racetrack, an anxious moment for Gary and Penny Beck, a $25,000 moment. They have suddenly become Cornwall's biggest fans.
So this is the World Championship here on the line. Muldowney can win it in a race car. Gary Beck could win it simply standing still at the far end of the track. Muldowney drops the visor on her helmet. They're ready on the line now. The semi-final round, but the World Championship is at stake here. Muldowney in the far lane, Cornwall in the near lane.
And Shirley has all the aces, far more experience. She's been the low elapsed time car of the previous 2 rounds. She's got the good lane. What more could the lady ask for?
Both cars are now staged. Muldowney on the far side is prepared. The World Championship is up to Muldowney. Her concentration and her driving. She pulls away. Muldowney is driving away from Cornwall as Cornwall smoked the tires on the line, and Shirley Muldowney is the world champion. The crowd loves it. Gary Beck watches as his hopes for a world championship go to Shirley Muldowney. Looking at it once again, Cornwall in the near lane smokes his tires right off the line, and Shirley Muldowney drives on to a $25,000 check and to the World Championship, just as smooth as you please. Shirley Muldowney, the new world champion, and her crew knew it just as soon as she left the line. Steve Evans is with Shirley now.
Your crew will be down here in a minute. I know they're just going to be bananas, and you give them all of the credit.
Hey, I'm just a paid driver at this point, really. They're awfully good, Steve. They brought me through a lot of things this year.
And the youngest crew in drag racing?
The youngest, all 3 of them, Brian Davis, Ron Tobler out of Houston, and Ron's mom is here, and my son John, of course. God bless him.
I hear a horn honking. You don't suppose that could be them?
Them. Oh, God, Steve, I want it.
Nobody's, and look who's here. Gary and Penny Beck. Shirley Muldowney just put them in the number 2 spot. But they kissed her, and Gary told me earlier, he said, you know, she deserves this. She won more races than any of us this year. And he's got a bottle of champagne for Shirley Muldowney from Gary Beck. Unbelievable.
That's the 58th time in her career that Shirley Muldowney has been in the 5-second bracket with a run at 5.93, 242 miles an hour. The celebration will end shortly, though. She has to go back and prepare for the final round against Frank Bradley. Ready now for the semi-final round in funny car. Ron Colson in the near lane, Roy Harris on the far side.
The Hawaiian, as you might remember in round number 1, got a gift when its opponent broke, Dale Armstrong. There'll be no gift here.
Colson in the near lane, Harris in the far lane. Harris crosses the center line. That disqualifies him, and Colson will go on to win in the semi-final round of funny car.
And only some clutch driving by this man prevented a severe accident.
Let's look at it one more time. As they come off the line, Colson straight and smooth, and then Harris darts across that center line. It's an immediate disqualification, and Colson won the race at that moment. His crew on the way down, as they'll have to prepare the car now for their next matchup. Prepared and ready to go is Raymond Beadle against Billy Meyer. And Beadle talked about this important moment of staging.
Well, we're getting a feel of the car, and we're seeing how hard it's leaving, and we have some adjustments we can make inside the cockpit, but we're trying to put a little more heat in the motor and make the motors make a little more horsepower, and also put a little more heat in the clutch so it'll work a little better.
Billy Meyer on the near side. Raymond Beadle in the Blue Max on the far side.
Raymond clinched the World Championship, in fact, the second in a row earlier this year, but he still wants this title.
Here goes the Beadle showing his World Championship form. A little fire out of the exhaust pipes, but it doesn't make any difference at all as Beadle goes on to win elimination here in the semifinal round.
Beadle the quickest in qualifying, the quickest in this round of racing. Meyer instantly smokes the tires. That spells his demise.
So we're ready now once again for Pro Stock. This will be the semifinal round of Pro Stock. Bob Glidden will face Jim Kinnett.
Glidden is pumped up now. With Shepard braking, he can smell that 5th consecutive World Championship.
Both cars up in stage. Glidden in the far lane, Kinnett in the close lane. A red light on Kinnett's side. He's out of the race already. They'll run it off, though. Glidden still will beat him. Glidden goes on to a victory in the semifinal round, but Kinnett red-lighted.
I'm sure Glidden didn't see the red light and gave it his all at 8:44, 159 miles an hour.
So now we've completed one elimination in the semifinal round of Pro Stock. There's the red light that cost that race for Jim Kinnett. Andy Manarino will face Frank Iaconio.
Iaconio is acknowledged by his peers in the sport as being one of the finest levers in drag racing. He is just cat-like quick off the line.
Manarino in the near lane, Iaconio in the far lane, the semifinal round of Pro Stock.
Iaconio looking for that hole shot. Manarino, a fine driver, but not the experience of Iaconio. He got the hole shot, Paul.
Iaconio off the line, very, very strong, smoothly down to a finish, and that'll complete the semifinal round in Pro Stock. Well, you know, there has to be some very quick service on these professional drag racing cars. Let's go to one of the quick service stations.
You take your car to the local automotive garage for a little minor engine work. They tell you, oh, it'll take at least a week. Then you come to the drag races and see the crew of the Blue Max completely rebuild an engine, including all 8 pistons, new cylinder heads, and have it all back together to run the next round. Tell the repair shop that the next time you go in.
Some super service down in the Blue Max pit. And we'll be back to the Ontario Motor Speedway for the finals. This was the scene moments ago at Ontario Motor Speedway as Shirley Muldowney wrapped up the World Championship. But she still has one more round of top fuel as she will face Frank Bradley.
Frank Bradley has got to be wondering right now, I think, Paul, if the deck is not stacked against him. If there's such a thing as momentum in this sport, Shirley's got it, but she's kept that left-hand lane by virtue of superior performance all day, and that's been her secret.
So Shirley Muldowney has the proper line in the proper lane. Her engine is ready, fired, and producing 2,000 horsepower. Alongside and issuing the challenge is Frank Bradley from Napa, California. Now, the right lane has not proven to be the place to be all afternoon. It has been slick. It's been very difficult to drive. So Shirley Muldowney at this moment certainly has the upper hand.
And I think she's more relaxed than she has been all day, even though it's the final round for $20,000. The season-long pressure of winning the world title is off her shoulders now.
Frank Bradley will be on the near side. Shirley Muldowney, the world champion, on the far side. Her crew makes last-minute preparations. They check her rear tires to make sure they're clean. Now they're bringing the cars up the stage. Something might be wrong with Muldowney. No, they say, all right, bring them up, stage them, and they're off. Muldowney pulls away right off the line. And just as easy as that, Muldowney runs on to victory.
With just an outside chance for success coming into this event, Shirley Muldowney has made this a day neither she nor 50,000 screaming fans will ever forget. She did it with a 5.95 elapsed time at 241 miles an hour. Undisputably, Wonder Woman of motor racing.
Frank Bradley pulled the front wheels off the line and gave the victory to Shirley.
Shirley, don't worry about that motor. It doesn't have to run anymore today. You've done everything a driver could do in Top Fuel. The World Championship, the event title, about a $50,000 day for, as your son says, my mother, the race car driver.
I made more money today than I've ever made in my career. It's great.
And you need it, right? No sponsors on this car. The sponsor's your checkbook and that purse.
That's it. Valvoline. They did a great job for us, really.
Tell me, on the starting line, what happened? Did you leave on him? Who left first?
I think Bradley made the first move, but Buster came over and looked underneath my car for a second, and I looked at him. I didn't know what it was, but he said, okay. take it to the line. So.
Oh, and you're just waiting for that cutoff sign, right?
Do you know what I ran, Steve?
No, I don't. Who cares?
I don't even care.
Congratulations again. Your crew is going to be down here in a minute. And what a wonderful moment a little earlier when Gary Beck gave you that bottle of champagne, huh?
Yeah, that's class. He is class, really.
He did everything you could possibly do. The most successful lady race car driver ever.
So Shirley Muldowney has not only won the event, she has won the World Championship. Steve, what a fantastic afternoon.
Oh, boy, it was exciting. And Shirley just loves to get to the boys, as she said many times, and she got to all of them today. The first driver to ever win 2 NHRA Top Fuel World Championships. She's really something, isn't she?
So our congratulations from NBC Sports World to Shirley Muldowney, the new world champion. Mount Baldy, part of the San Gabriel mountain chain, looks down on Ontario Motor Speedway, where we're ready for the final rounds in funny car and pro stock. In funny car, Ron Colson will face Raymond Beadle. And as Colson begins to move to make his burnouts, he's told Steve Evans this may be his last race.
Is this your last race?
Yeah, it's definitely the last race with this team. I may moderate my retirement a little bit if I find something that fits my schedule.
His opponent from Dallas, Texas, carrying the number 1 of the world champion, is Raymond Beadle, who talks about his strategy.
Well, they smoked the tires, so we're going to make him run the same lane, so maybe he'll smoke them again.
Funny car, the Blue Max is ready. This is the final elimination.
Raymond Beadle was the number 1 qualifier. He's been the quickest car of every round. He has owned that left hand or far lane.
Both cars are ready. Ron Colson, he's up and on the line on the near side. Raymond Beadle on the far side. They're staged. Colson's in the lights, the yellow light, and they're off and running, and Beadle loses it right away. Tremendous driving job as he recovers it, but Ron Colson goes on to win.
And Colson wins it with the best elapsed time we've seen in the near lane, 6.28 seconds, 230 miles an hour, and there goes Raymond Beadle. He can't believe it happened to him.
A good piece of driving by Raymond Beadle. As we look at it one more time, Beadle loses it right off the line, catches it, points it back straight. But already it's too late because Ron Colson goes on to win. He's a happy guy down at the shutdown area.
You talk about a driver going out in style. Your final ride as the driver of the Hawaiian is a winning one, taking the Super Nationals event title at the World Finals. Congratulations.
Thanks. Boy, I was sweating that one. We had the bad lane. We just tuned the car up to run that lane. It got out there, it got loose, and I don't know what happened to Raymond, but we squeezed a decent run out of it and we won it.
Well, apparently they had too much of that famous Blue Max power, more than this track could hold.
Well, that might be. We detuned because we had the bad lane. Maybe that's what saved us.
Ron Colson, the funny car champion. In pro stock, it'll be Bob Glidden against Frank Iaconio.
If you can't match Glidden's elapsed time, there's only one other thing you can do, right?
Yeah, just hope that he fouls.
Or you leave on him.
Well, yeah, but it's going to be an awful lot.
Bob Glidden, there's just one real tough customer from New Jersey named Frank Iaconio standing between you and your 5th consecutive pro stock world title.
He is a tough customer. He's run very good here. Of course, the track has affected him like it's affected us, and we have run better than him. We're just going to give it our best. Hope everything comes out the way we want it.
The Pro Stock World Championship comes down to the last race on the last day between the number 2 car of Frank Iaconio and the number 1 car of Bob Glidden. They're staging, they're ready, they're away. Glidden gets the whole shot. It's Glidden pulling Iaconio, and Glidden all the way to the finish. He is the world champion once again. Bob Glidden out in front right from the start.
And he saved the best for last, 8.42 seconds, 159 miles an hour, top speed and low elapsed time.
An incredible run by Bob Glidden on the far side. Look how fast he jumps off. Let's go down to the shutdown area and Steve Evans.
You're looking at one of the happiest faces I think any drag racer has ever worn. Bob Glidden, congratulations. Your 5th pro stock world title in a row, and you know what? You just became the winningest drag racer in history.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy. I feel really bad for the boys from Texas. They've done such a great job, but Ed and ourselves and the kids will be so happy. It's such a great win for us, Steve. I just can't even tell you.
And also rather wealthy, about a $40,000 day for the Gliddens.
I'll tell you, it's more than the money right now, though.
So Bob Glidden has done it once again. There's his wife, Etta. She is so happy. She's crying. Congratulations to Bob Glidden, the world champion once again. And here he drives his machine back to receive the accolades of the crowd on his way back to the starting line. Bob Glidden, the world champion once again in pro stock. So that's it from Ontario Motor Speedway. Congratulations to our funny car champion, Ron Colson, and of course to the new world champion in pro stock, Bob Glidden. I'm Paul Page. For Steve Evans, so long.